The Prime Minister was at his country retreat Chequers when the US struck Iran. Dawn breaking on a sleepless night for Sir Keir Starmer, who has for days been pressing Donald Trump to de-escalate. These strikes not what the Prime Minister wanted. Now his task to try to reassure. Lots of people watching you speak this morning will be very worried about the news overnight that the US has carried out 3 strikes on Iran. Does the UK support US strikes against Iran?
Well, we've long had concerns about the Iranian nuclear programme and been very clear that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The US has now taken action to alleviate that threat. It is important that we now de-escalate the situation, stabilise the region, and get the parties back around the table to negotiate. And I've been speaking with international leaders this morning to that end. So I want to reassure the British public that we're doing everything we can.
Do you agree escalation seems very real? And are you prepared to offer military support, UK military support, if needed?
Well, my focus is on de-escalating the situation. I accept your challenge that there is a risk of escalation. That's a risk to the region. It's a risk beyond the region. And that's why all our focus has been on de-escalating.
The PM treading carefully, offering neither overt support nor criticism of these attacks, as he went from making this public statement to remotely joining an emergency Cobra meeting. Simply too many calls with world leaders to get back to London in time. Back in Downing Street, the Foreign Secretary and Middle East Minister into number 10. This is the first time the US has ever ordered airstrikes on Iran. It wasn't the outcome our Prime Minister was expecting when we spoke at the G7 in Canada, but days ago. It sounds like an American attack could be imminent. Do you know what's going on?
Well, I don't think you should read into that an American attack is imminent.
That prediction proved incorrect, a point I put to the PM today. He's done exactly the opposite of what you said you thought he was going to do. Do you feel foolish, frustrated that he's not listening?
Well, it's clearly a fast-moving situation, and there's been a huge amount of discussions in the days since the G7 ended, and the US has now taken the action to alleviate the threat that Iran's nuclear programme poses.
Other politicians more fulsome in their support for Trump's strikes.
America's actions were absolutely essential. We have got to the stage, as we've seen actually in the last 9 days or so, where Iran coming to the negotiation table simply was not happening in any constructive way.
The Prime Minister's trying to reassure us today about these unprecedented strikes. He's hitting the phone, scrambling to try and de-escalate what is clearly a very dangerous and unfolding situation. But really, what's more instructive, I think, isn't what the Prime Minister has said, but what he hasn't said today, because the simple reality is that Trump isn't really listening to allies like the UK. That's worrying in itself, but it becomes even more alarming if this situation does escalate and the UK government is forced to take decisions around military intervention without much influence over the president. Everyone here nervously awaiting how Iran might respond. The UK now moving more military assets to the region. This PM deeply opposed to war, but stopping it not in his gift.